Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, as you can see, I am delighted to be across from none other than Chad the Savage George. Welcome to the Keep It Clean video podcast, my brother. Hooking me up with whiskey as usual. Knowing I'm going to get sloppy, but it's okay. We're live. And we're going to be talking about, among other things, Conor McGregor versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone. It's only fitting that we're drinking whiskey, bringing up Conor and Cowboy's names. Cowboy more of a Bud Light guy. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, Cowboy is a beer guy and Connor's a whiskey guy, but I'm actually I'm a whiskey guy.
I like it.
I'm not a Connor guy, and I'm definitely not a proper 12 guy.
Are you saying you're a Cowboy guy?
Um, I mean, I'm a Cowboy fan,
Yeah.
but for me, we're just speaking whiskey,
Yeah.
and I'm just not an Irish whiskey fan.
I got you. So interesting because we had you on the show. I guess it's a show now. You're the one that kind of helped me, or kind of made me aware of YouTube after my interview with you about Conor McGregor after the Habib Nurmagomedov fallout. We had you on the channel. It's now broken 50,000 views, that interview with you, immediately after the McGregor and Cowboy fight, or the McGregor and Habib fight. And here we are again, talking McGregor again. That's kind of what got us started on the channel, so I thought it was fitting to have you on.
Very cool.
To talk about McGregor. Where do you, well, I mean, let's get into the preview here. McGregor's been out for a hot minute, and Cowboy's been very active, but everybody's looking at it like McGregor's the guy that's just gonna walk right through Cowboy here. I mean, how do you see this fight going?
Well, there's a lot of different factors going to play with this. If you're talking about stylistically, it's two strikers that are coming in there and they're going to meet in the center and they're going to fight. If I was the strategist going into this, I would actually have Cowboy dive for a leg lock right when this thing started and make this fight on the ground. Even if he's on his back, he should have his way with Conor. Yeah. I'm not saying Conor has bad ground. I'm just saying that Cerrone's ground is so good. It's on a whole nother level. Not only by with Conor, just it's so underestimated in the division period.
Yeah.
But he's not going to do that. Cowboy is the type of guy that wants to make it a fan-loving fight. He's going to stand there and trade with McGregor, and he's going to give everybody what they want. And in my opinion, statistically speaking, Cerrone's a slow starter. And the fights that he starts slow and he gets hit by guys that start fast who are good punchers, it doesn't go well with him.
Yeah.
And McGregor is such a precision striker when he comes in. If he lands those first shots early, I think it's going to be a lot of trouble for Cowboy.
And McGregor's like a fast starter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, these guys are very yin and yang, is the way I see it. I mean, I think, obviously, I think McGregor is going to win this fight. I think it could be interesting, though, if it gets to the later rounds, if Cowboy's able to survive. I mean, is that what you see, too, where, Conor's always had these questions about his stamina, and if Cowboy can get it to the later rounds, maybe he can do something here? Or?
I think in this fight, I don't think the stamina is going to play that much of a factor for Conor. I think, because this is going to be a striking fight. He's not going to have to worry about so much other areas where if we go to the ground or whatever it is, like he had to deal with Nate Diaz. Yeah. Nate Diaz is a pressure fighter, comes forward, but if he goes to the ground, that's where Nate really wanted the fight.
Yeah.
I think that stamina is not going to be a problem with this. It's going to be interesting to see the sizing between the two guys. I know McGregor's really big for this fight. He's supposed to have put on some weight, some muscle. Cerrone is the same thing. But here's the thing you got to remember. Everyone talked about how much bigger Nate Diaz was with Conor McGregor. They were both lightweights.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about, McGregor's fighting Cowboy at welterweight. They're both lightweights. Mm-hmm. They're both just coming up in weight. They're not needing to cut. They're just putting on muscle. They're putting on a healthy weight so they can just be in this fight at full capacity. So it's going to be interesting to see how Conor does with the extra weight on him.
You told me, Cowboy, if it were up to you, if you were the strategist for Cowboy, you'd tell him to get Conor on the ground right away. A lot of people say Cowboy's really good on the ground, but I mean, but how do you know this? Like, where have, because I mean, it's like we never see him on the ground.
Go back and watch his tapes. The times that you have has been incredible, remarkable.
Like at WEC and stuff like
No,
that?
I mean the WC, yeah, but also in the bits you see in the UFC.
Yeah.
He just chooses to keep it standing. You know, I have a lot of friends that train with him as well, and they say the same thing. I mean, he's probably the best guy on the ground, or one of the best guys at the Jacksons camp.
Wow. That's very strange, you know. Do you think, I mean, he's got it in him to just say, screw it, I'm going to, you know, throw a monkey wrench into this whole thing and just take Conor to the ground?
I mean, that's always there, right? It's always there. But look at Conor. I'm not Conor. Look at Cowboy the way he is. He's like, I just want to fight. He doesn't care about it being for the win or for the title, even though he's made some comments recently that he's saying, you know, this is his title run. He wants to do this. But at the end of the day, Cowboy is there to be a cowboy. He wants to put on a show. He wants to stand right there in the middle of the corral and let the entire town watch the fight.
All right. So for those people that don't know, one of Chad the Savage George's favorite things, and I know this because I remember the stuff you tell me most of the time.
Depends how much whiskey.
Depends how much whiskey we drink. Is battle plans. You know, I know my understanding is you really enjoy, you know, being in the war room and coming up with strategies. Delving into the mind of a fighter and a coach, you know that Cowboy's going to stand up.
Yep.
What would your strategy be if you were Cowboy's coach, knowing he's going to do that? What are you telling Cowboy to do?
Here's the thing. The way I look at fights is I look at it this. If I'm going against a fighter who has a high IQ, I want to look at what they're looking at. I want to break myself down and look at how are they going to strategically try to beat me. Not about what am I good at and how am I going to beat them, because that's almost becomes irrelevant. It's how would I beat myself and then build the game plan against that. And for like Cowboy, he's a slow starter. I know I'm a slow starter. They're going to come right at me and they're going to fight me right off the bat. So he's going to have to match the fire. If he was, in my opinion, be in this camp being ready for a dogfight, I would use that dogfight to get it to the ground. Make Conor believe that I'm going to be in a striking fit with him. Get into an exchange with him. Let him know that I'm here to fight. I'm standing. I'm not going anywhere. And then put him on the ground. Or get it to the ground any way that I can. I wouldn't even be opposed to jumping guard.
Yeah.
Because now at least I have him in the realm that I want him and he doesn't want to be.
But from a striking standpoint, what would you tell Cowboy to do there?
Well, I mean, that's tough, right? Because Cowboy's got the long kicks. He's got those long teeps. He's got long punches. And you could say, okay, Cowboy, keep him at the end of your punch. Keep him long. You're going to be longer than him. But Conor's a phenomenal striker. He understands the range game. He's going to have to be ready for a firefight right when that first bell starts. It's not going to be a slow fight.
Right.
It's going to, right when that bell starts, it's going to be a fight. And even Conor knows that. Conor wants to come fight too. He's coming guns blazing. And it's going to be just that. It's going to be a firefight. Be ready for it.
Do you think, I mean, again, your advice to Cowboy, use the jab, leg kicks, teeps, I mean, concentrate on kicking more than punching? Yeah, because, you know, if you ask me, obviously, you know, I'm not as versed in this as you are, but, you know, I see Cowboy's kicks. I feel like his kicks are better than his punches, to be honest.
I do too. So here's what I would look at. I would use my hands to keep Conor's hands busy. Keep him away from his face. Use his heavy low kicks because Conor's got a very wide stance. Start ripping at those legs. When he starts reacting to those legs, go up high with the head kicks. I think that Cowboy's major weapon in this is going to be his kicks. He's going to be able to throw low, and it's going to open up him going high as long as he doesn't get clipped in the meantime. Really beat up that leg.
Yeah. And as far as a prediction, you know, what do you think happens in this fight?
It's a tough one because it could go either way. I think that on paper, it really lines up well for Conor. I think it shows that it's going to be a first round finish for Conor. That's what I see on paper.
Wow.
If Conor doesn't get him in the first round, and if Cowboy's having a good time and he's out there having fun and doing what he's supposed to do, I think Cowboy could finish him.
Wow.
I would like to see Cowboy with the win just because of the storyline of everything. I think Cowboy deserves it. He's been in the game for a very long time, and obviously I have a lot of respect for the guys that are coming from the WEC. WEC forever, and I think he's paved his own way, and I think he's due this. He's not just due this fight against Conor because I think he's just missing the boat of the big payday versus Conor. So I think he's deserving of a victory over a guy like this.
Besides, I guess the sort of storyline, him paving his own way, working hard, always fighting. I mean, is there another reason you prefer Cowboy winning? Do you have any sort of dislike for Conor?
I'm not a fan of Conor and everything that he does to sell his fights. I don't agree with a lot of the things of that. If you're an elite athlete or if you're an elite person of any stature, that you should be able to get away with a lot of things that you get away with, just because of your status. I don't get it, and I don't agree with it. There's been people that have been hurt through the process, and I don't think that people like that should constantly be given more and more chances. I think they should be punished and treated like everybody else. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, "Oh, well, what about this? What about this? Who are you to say this?" This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
This is what I feel, and I feel like Cowboy is a guy that has just been the guy that has been there the whole way through. He's been who he said he's going to be. He's done what he said he's going to do, and he's just there to fight.
Yeah.
And he's one hell of a fighter, and he's just, he's the definition of what I think that we want to see fighters as. A guy that wants to show up, fight, doesn't need the trash talking, and really does just want to elevate the sport.
He's a guy that, it seems to me, he's a great fighter, but so many times he gets right there, right near the summit. Excuse me, and he seems to come up short. And
but doesn't that make the story? That's what I think draws me to it, because I'm so big on the mentality. I'm so big on what we have to go through, and I think that for a guy like that, he deserves it. Maybe this isn't his chance. Maybe it's not this time. What's great about this, even if he loses to Conor, he's still going to keep coming back with the same mentality. I'm still pushing forward. He's not going to see this as the setback that finally broke him. He's just going to keep doing what he does. And I think all those losses that were just short are reasons why this could be his time.
Yeah. That's interesting. Do you think that he's come up short all those other times because it's a mental thing for him, or do you think he just doesn't quite have the talent to be all the way at the top?
I don't think it's either one of those. I think he has all the talent to be there. I think he has all the right things. I think it's just a matter of the night. I think when a lot of these guys have elongated success, or a lot of these guys are placed in the right places and the right things have lined up at the right times, I just think that he's just hasn't had the right night. I think anybody that's in the top 3, top 5, maybe even top 10, any single one of them could be world champion at any time, depending on the night. One of the things I always wanted to do is, my thing was like, I wanted to become the best fighter in the world. I wanted to become world champion. And when my time kind of started getting closer, I realized that I train with world champions all the time, and I realized that I could beat these guys. So it really did open up that idea to me that all it takes is one night. Just takes one night. Look at Matt Serra and GSP.
Yeah.
It just takes one night. Anybody can be there that night if it's your night.
And, obviously by fighting so much, he gives himself a lot of opportunities for that night to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, it still hasn't really happened for him, even though obviously he's had a great career. And even if he didn't win a belt, I think he's going to go down as, kind of a big deal in the fight game. That being said, though, do you think that there's a skill, especially in fighting with all the nerves and the, the mental aspect that you're really into and you're always talking about? Do you think there's a skill in the fight game where a guy has to be able to transition what he does in practice into the live fight, and some guys just can't do it and some guys can?
Well, I think the thing with Cowboy in particular, I think if you want to start picking at why he might not have had his night yet, is when it comes to just don't let it be just about fighting. Let it be about the strategy and game plan. And I think that is the only thing that he could maybe adjust, in my opinion, to make the difference. Like we're talking about against Conor.
Yeah.
I'm talking game planning. What I think would be an easy game, not an easy game plan, but another route than the expected.
Yeah.
And I think that could have been it on his other occasions too. Maybe it wasn't about just standing there and banging and just proving that you can be there with the best guys in the world. Step outside the box a little bit and see what you could have done differently going into it, and throw them off guard. I mean, this is not a tough guy's sport. It's really the smart man's sport. A lot of people want to be the tough guy. That's what the crowds want. That's what the fans want. That's what Dana White wants.
Yeah.
But you got to be the smart guy.
A lot of people are saying, and it seems like this is the consensus, that if Conor wins this, he might get a title shot after this. I mean, is that for real? I mean, for me, it seems a little bit insane that a guy like Justin Gaethje wouldn't get it instead, or somebody else. I mean, how? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's just showing that the sport doesn't matter of who you beat or what the stats are or what ranking you are. It's really about what the numbers are. Yeah. It sucks because you have these guys that are climbing the rankings. They're dedicating everything to their lives, and they're beating the best guys in the world, and that doesn't mean anything. If Conor wins this fight, I mean, let's think about it. What sense does that make? Conor's last fight, he won by, what was it, split decision? Or was it
Conor?
Yeah. No, that was against Khabib, right? Oh,
yeah.
So he got choked out, right? I'm sorry. I was thinking about Nate Diaz.
And it's been a while.
So his last fight, he got choked out at lightweight.
Yeah.
Now he's moving up to fight Cowboy, he was not just a journeyman, so I'm not going to say he's a journeyman, but he is a journeyman who's got the credentials to be the best guys in the world.
Yeah.
If he beats him, so you're on paper saying we're going to beat a guy at a weight class that isn't relevant to lightweight, and a guy that isn't necessarily in the top considerations for a lightweight fight, to go back and get a rematch against the guy that just beat you.
It's very strange.
There's no other sport in the world where you could see a similar scenario play out. It just doesn't make sense. I don't think so. And I mean, that's a whole nother topic. I'm sure we'll get that in another. No, I'm serious. I don't even think. Here's the thing. I don't think that Khabib will beat Ferguson.
Wow.
I actually think Ferguson is the kryptonite for Khabib. So you could look at it that way and see that maybe you're going to give Conor to Ferguson.
But you're a big-time jiu-jitsu guy, though.
I am.
So you may be coming from a place of bias there.
No, I'm not. I'm coming from a place of historically speaking. We've seen Khabib getting stuck in situations by guys that I don't feel are nearly the level of grappling that Ferguson is.
Wow.
And I think Ferguson's grappling is so unorthodox, and he's so unpredictable, everything that he does, it's going to give him the hardest match of his life.
Yeah.
And I think Ferguson's going to pull it off. I mean, I'm sure that's a whole other topic and subject, but that could be a place for, okay, let's see what Conor looks against him.
Yeah.
But would we really throw a guy whose last fight was for the title that lost against the new champion? I think there's plenty of other guys that are in line that are more deserving.
Yeah. What if they just threw him in for a 170-pound title?
Stop it.
Against Usman or something.
Let's put him against Masvidal. Let's see what happens.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, let's give him a build-up match. Let's put him against Covington. Like, look at the top 5 guys at that weight class. You really think that he's got a shot against any of them outside of him believing he does? That's just silly.
Yeah. I don't think he's got a shot against those guys.
Usman's the Terminator.
Yeah. Those guys are tough. And my goodness, that fight, let me tell you, between Covington and Usman, that was a hell of a fight, man. I mean, my goodness, those guys were like ready to die in there. That was a hell of a fight. I wonder what would have happened had Covington not gotten his jaw broken.
He was winning the fight.
That was a hell of a fight.
He was winning the fight.
I'd like to see that run back.
I think a lot of people would.
Masvidal, too. I mean, do you think, shouldn't he be getting Usman next? I guess that's what's going to happen.
I think so.
Yeah. So, I mean, Conor beats Cowboy. They're talking about him getting the title shot. Who do you... I guess, okay, so Khabib and Ferguson will fight next. Mm-hmm. And, let's say Khabib wins. Mm-hmm. Let's just say Khabib wins. Khabib wins. Who would you rather see him fight as opposed to obviously Conor. If Conor beats
I don't even
Cowboy.
consider that one.
Yeah.
What are my options?
I mean, for me, right off the bat, I think Gaethje would be a real tough fight for Khabib. You know, I think Gaethje would be a fun fight because he can wrestle. He's got a wrestling base. I don't know if Khabib will be able to get him down. And he's the Terminator too, man. That guy keeps coming.
He looks like he dies and comes back.
Man, that guy's crazy. So I feel like that would be a fun fight. And I definitely think Gaethje earned it. I mean, he stopped Cowboy in the first round last time they fought.
Stylistically.
So I don't know. I just don't see how Conor. I mean, other than the fact that he draws so much freaking money,
man. I don't know. You know, I'd like to see Gaethje, but I mean, let's look at it. Other than Gaethje, who else is there?
You know, but I'm sure a lot of people though can make an argument, right? Because I mean,
who?
Conor hasn't even been active. I mean,
he hasn't been around. I'm talking about first versus Khabib. Who's left after Gaethje? Like who are we putting in there?
You know, I don't know. I mean, Kevin Lee, even though he's not.
Kevin Lee's not he wants that fight,
yeah,
but he's not touching Khabib.
But he deserves it less than Conor?
No, I think he deserves it more than Conor because he hasn't fought him yet.
That's what I'm getting at.
But I'm just talking about who's in the pecking order.
Yeah.
Like who do we have? The pool isn't very.
It's not deep. Yeah,
no,
it's not deep.
So it means Gaethje.
But man, I think to let Conor fight the winner of Khabib versus Ferguson before Gaethje is a real.
This is the fight. Do Gaethje and Conor. Do Gaethje and Conor. Oh, that's a fight,
man.
Do Gaethje and Conor. Can you imagine the shit talking that'll happen on that one?
I don't know why they didn't do that this time.
Because that might be a fight Conor will lose.
That's true.
This fight is way safer than Gaethje.
Mm-hmm. It's the guy Gaethje just knocked out.
See?
I just, I feel like that's such a slap in the face, though, if they let Conor get the title shot, and it's the Keep It Clean video podcast. And the insinuation with Keep It Clean is, we call out the BS, You said there's no other sport like it. There's boxing, which is even worse, if I'm being honest with you. But you're right, combat sports is the absolute, it's a nightmare.
I mean, look at the guy. Okay, so let's just say boxing and MMA, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the guys that are fighting for titles in boxing. I mean, they're like, hey, who can we get? We got this guy in Mexico who's got like a 30-2 record.
Yeah.
Let's buy him. Let's have him come in.
Yeah.
On paper, it looks good. Here you go. Same thing.
Yeah.
They pick the fights. Doesn't matter.
So a couple people in the chat here. Marco Martinez says, if Cowboy can withstand Conor in the first 2 rounds, Conor's in trouble. His stamina level will be strongly tested.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. And that's what I was talking about. It'll be very interesting to see how Conor does with the new size that he's put on.
That's what I was thinking too, because I felt like, you would obviously be again more experienced than I am, coming in heavier, not having to worry about the weight cut and all this stuff. Coming in at 170, will his stamina be better, or will that hurt
I would
his
say
stamina?
it's gonna be tested.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting because I know for myself, when I put on more weight, it's hard to keep it on as far as like the energy levels. But he doesn't have to cut.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's basically walking around what he's training at. So we'll see. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting.
Jamaican, one of my favorite contributors, he's in the chat. What's up, brother? Thanks for joining. He says Conor versus Gaethje was the fight to make instead of Cowboy coming off 2 knockout losses.
Yep, exactly.
And then he says, I hate to say this, but this year, if UFC and boxing doesn't make the right fights on pay-per-view, I ain't buying. And
Hey, but here's the thing. I hate to cut you off, but you know what? Yeah. UFC doesn't care. They don't care. They don't.
Why do you think
Because they have so many people, like the 1 or 2 people that are going to boycott it. They don't care. They have 10 more people that are going to sign up on ESPN.
How do you so how do you combat that? I mean, we do what we can. We got this little channel, we call them out. But obviously, you need a lot more than that to kind of.
It's not going to change. It's like the UFC machine's going to keep getting bigger, and the only thing we can do is is support the sport because it is what it is, and the fighters are getting a platform, and with the growth of like Bellator and ONE FC, there's a lot of opportunities for guys to finally start making money, which is great.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to those three letters, UFC, it is what it is, and it's going to be that way. Yeah. The move to ESPN only benefited those three letters. It didn't benefit the fighters.
And it looks like it's done a lot of good for UFC Fight Pass as well. I mean, did you see they basically swallowed Glory? They're showing Glory fights on Fight Pass.
Wow.
It's insane. Obviously, as a kickboxing promoter, that kind of freaked me out. You know what I mean? Guys, if you're on the chat, you want to ask the champ any questions, feel free to do so. Just want to let them know that before we continue. We also got Ginger Giant in here. Thanks for joining, brother. He says, Gaethje is next, though, so if he wins, it'll happen. So I guess,
I don't know. I think they're afraid of that fight. I mean, it is the fight to make, but I think the UFC is afraid of it.
Yeah.
Because if you put this monstrous Gaethje in with your cash cow, I mean, how does that look? Your cash cow loses 2 of his last 3 fights?
Yeah.
Only win coming against a guy who's coming off 2 losses.
Yeah, and that sentiment is, being agreed upon by Suleiman. Suleiman, thanks for joining, brother. He says Cerrone's last 2 fights weren't even competitive. Bad precedent. Gaethje is getting royally screwed. And he says, he's replying to Ginger Giant. He's saying there is no next. UFC makes whatever fight whenever they want.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They go back on the drawing board and they say which fight makes more money. They don't say which fight makes more sense. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a bit of a dichotomy with the UFC, right? Because one thing I love about the UFC, I love many things about the UFC, but one thing I really like about the UFC is, okay, even though things like this happen where sometimes they're putting money, a lot of times they're putting money ahead of the fight that should be made, we also get the best fighting the best in the UFC typically, right? That's not something we get at all in boxing. I mean, it's such a rarity in boxing. You know what I mean? How do you kind of feel about that? I mean, at the very least, they're at least making the best guys fight the best guys. But once in a while, they also do these gimmicky money fights. I mean, would do you understand that on some level? Do you prefer that not happen?
Listen, here's the deal. I don't mind it. Like, here's the thing. Make the super fights. Make the power plays, do it on statistics, whatever it is. But you can't bash the other shows for doing the same thing. Like UFC really dogs on Bellator for putting on these pride style fights, right? The circus fights.
The older guys,
Yeah, but they do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, they do this by bringing in guys like, come on, let's be honest, CM Punk.
Oh my goodness.
So hold on, you're going to trash these other promotions for doing something like this, and then you're going to bring on guys like this and say that you are at a different standard. That's hypocritical.
How about Brock Lesnar pushing Daniel Cormier in the ring? That was WWE, bro. But I got love for the UFC.
So do I.
Yeah,
I think UFC is the biggest and best show in the world.
But you're right.
It just sucks because the guys that are finally deserving the title shots, they've worked their entire lives for it. Now, here's the thing people don't realize. Yeah. Not only have they worked their entire lives for it, their camp has.
That's true.
It's much bigger than that. So not only is the fighter getting screwed out of it, their camp is getting screwed out of it.
And that's something I've definitely witnessed firsthand there, seeing how hard you guys work, especially at CMMA, which, if you guys don't know, is Chad's school, his academy, CMMA. He's got 2 locations, one in Gardena, that's where the headquarters is, the other's in Southgate. Fantastic work you're doing there, by the way, Chad. I think not too long ago you had, 3 guys on a Bellator card simultaneously? 4. Just absolutely insane. And of course, February 28th, I'm absolutely excited to have, some more CMMA guys on the Fighters Rep 9 card. The Fighters Rep 9 card.
I forgot all about that.
So, I'm definitely excited to have you on there. And you guys actually won the last, Lions Cup. This time you guys will be coming back to defend. Some great talent on the card, so it should be an exciting show. Jamaican says, I think, and he seems to agree with you, Chad, I think Cowboy should do a wrestle heavy attack in the first 3 rounds. Cowboy should not throw a right hand in round 1 or 2. Otherwise, he's going to get countered to death. Ginger Giant says, yeah, but I think from everything I'm hearing on Conor's side, if he wins, it'll happen. Conor makes the decisions.
Yep.
Remember that.
He does.
That's crazy to me. Jamaican also saying, George, if you notice, I removed the word boxing from my name. Goes to show you I'm not feeling the bullshit. I'm not feeling the bullshit this year. I'll watch, but I ain't buying if the fights ain't the fights we want. You know, a lot of fans, hardcore fans, are getting turned off. But like you said, there's a slew of casual fans that are always coming in willing to sign up.
Yep.
But it does damage the sport. It does damage the sport in the long run. I mean,
here's the thing: you got to look at it. Are you talking about damaging it from what you know it as, or what it's going towards? See,
it's confusing. This is what I'll say. This is what concerns me about the UFC doing it. It makes me think that if the UFC is doing it, right? If the UFC is doing it, a company that's supposed to be at the very top and just absolutely killing it, that's crazy because, shouldn't they have so much money that they shouldn't be bound by money fights? Shouldn't they be able to just do the best guys against the best guys?
Yeah, but it's a money business.
But do you think it may be an indication that they're financially hurting in some way?
I don't think they're financially hurting, but I definitely they have to watch what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like anything, they can go under by making bad decisions.
Yeah.
One decision leads to another. That's not. They're not where they are because of accident.
Yeah.
They are in the position they're in because of everything that they've done. Now, the people that are getting upset with all the changes they're making and the choices that they're doing are the people that have been in it for the long time, right? Mm-hmm. These are the same people that they could care less are following it anymore. They want the new crowd. They want the people that are going to buy into this new look, that are going to buy into this new era of it. They don't care about the people from before. They're like, okay, you guys are old news. I don't care about you. You guys stick around, fantastic. We've already gotten your money. We want that new money now.
Pound for Pound Boxing. He just joined the chat. Says, what's up, George? What's up, Pound for Pound? Thanks for joining us. Me and Chad are happy to have you. Chad, what is it we're drinking, by the way? Because, man, this feels like hot fire coming down, bro.
Well,
I love it.
Unfortunately, we're not drinking proper 12. Actually, fortunately.
Fortunately.
I'm just not a fan of Irish whiskey. To me, it tastes like cough syrup. So tonight, we are drinking on some Basil Hayden.
Hey.
It's an amazing Kentucky bourbon. I love this stuff. It's a good sipping whiskey. If you notice, I'm not using any ice with it. Just neat. The way it goes down, awesome.
You're a real whiskey man, Chad, and I appreciate you, sharing the fun with your boy here. Suleiman saying this is a little off topic, but I read Poirier got $250K against Khabib. Where is all the money going that the UFC generates? I know boxing is corrupt, but at least the fighters get some of that money.
Didn't Dana White just have like a $2 million birthday party or something like that for his daughter?
God, that guy's the man.
Here's the thing. It's a business, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about fighters who are coming up from no money. You've got let's look at LFA for example, right? Very small feeder program, but you're gonna pit two of the top up and coming talents in the world that could potentially be not only in the UFC but UFC champions. They're gonna fight each other, and one of them's probably gonna get signed to the UFC. They're gonna get paid $1,500, maybe $2,000 to fight each other. $2,000 to show up, $2,000 to win. For the same type of fight, they would make 20 or 30 grand minimum in the UFC.
Yeah.
So you're taking that fight from a guy who's going to make $4,000 to fight somebody, but now we're going to give you $200,000. Fuck yeah, I'm in. Give it to me.
Yeah.
They don't see it as the fact that there's millions and millions and millions of other dollars they could be getting. They see it as a step up from what they were making. Step up, that's a platform up. You can't even see the other levels that we're in between anymore.
For sure. Jamaican he's still on the very upset about corruption. A lot of people on the channel come to the channel, because they're disgusted with corruption, and that's kind of been our thing. You know, I don't know if I told you. You know Chris Cully?
Yeah, I know Chris very well.
So I don't know if I told you, but you know he kept getting skipped over for WBC title shots.
It's because you called me out all of those years.
Well, I mean,
I love you, Chris.
He kept getting skimmed over for these WBC title shots. He really wanted one in in Muay Thai. He wanted a Muay Thai.
He's a phenomenal striker.
Yeah, and so he ended up knocking a guy out, and the guy he knocked out immediately received a WBC title shot.
I remember about that, yeah.
So I got Chris on the channel on an audio Skype interview just to talk about it live like we're doing here, and I guess some promoter overheard it and offered him a WBC title shot. So I felt like that was a huge victory, for the channel.
That's very cool.
Jamaican says, for the most part, UFC fights are 60-40. I'm okay with the one-off here and there, but boxing made me sick last year. This year, I ain't supporting the bullshit.
Here's the thing. Last year, though, we got Fury Wilder. That was an incredible fight.
Yeah.
This year, we get it again. I mean, no, you have to love that fight.
You have to, but look, let's be honest here. Fury Wilder, Chad, at least in my opinion, Wilder Camp took that fight because Fury had been out of the ring for 2.5 years plus, had ballooned up to 400 pounds, had been snorting cocaine and doing all kinds of other stuff. They probably thought Wilder was going to just run right through him. And I think that was a situation where, it was a banana skin kind of situation where they were like, oh, we're going to run through this guy. And they ended up getting a lot more than they bargained for. And I thought Wilder
was losing that fight.
I thought he lost that fight. I don't know how he got that decision.
I remember watching it. Like, all you got to do is tell Fury, just don't die this round.
Yeah. I mean, did you think Wilder won that fight?
I mean, if you look round for round, no.
Yeah,
he didn't.
Okay.
But if you also look at it for the fact that somebody literally died in that fight, I mean, so how do you go with that, right? Like, yes, Fury picked him apart and scored like some good shots the whole fight, but he literally died in the 12th round. Like, Mick from Rocky had to wake him up in a dream to get him out, and he had to rise up from like Snatch, like Brad Pitt and Snatch, to come back and fight. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I mean, you actually see his head kind of like pop up as if his soul.
He was like, oh yeah, that's right, T's on.
Jamaican says proper 12 tastes like diesel fuel, in my opinion.
Horrible. You got to try some Basil Hayden. And I'm definitely taking sponsors if they're watching.
You hear that, whiskey sponsors? We got the man here. And wow. Big shout out to Emmanuel Kant for the generosity. Just donated $20 to the super chat right now.
Awesome,
Thank you for that, Emmanuel. That means a lot for us.
I take 20% of that. So.
As you know, anything you guys donate, it gets reinvested into Fighters Rep and hopefully helping build the next big striking promotion here in Southern California. He's asking with his donation, how much road work and swimming do you do?
So it depends on the athlete, right? Like when I was fighting, for most people that know, I retired this last year. I would run 2-3 times a week, but swimming is something that I would love. I'd like to do that 2 or 3 times a week as well. Wow. I think running for boxers and running for MMA guys are two different things. The running is very damaging on your body. The old school runners are, you got to run every day. You got to run 10 miles. Like, I remember my boxing coach used to take me to a track and we'd have to run 10Ks every weekend. And I hate running. I absolutely hate it. And as I started getting more and more involved in the sports, I realized that yes, the conditioning is important, the running is important, but what's more important is making sure you're getting your rounds in, you're getting your conditioning in. It doesn't have to be just from road work. Road work, I find, it's great for the mind because you're making yourself get out there and it's just you and the road and whatever thoughts you have going on. Even when I run, I don't put headphones in. Yeah. It's just me in my own head. Wow. It's just go, because I don't want to be checked out. Everything has to be checked in, just like when you fight.
I see. That's
and I think like swimming does that for you. It's just you. You're dealing with your own thoughts about going one more lap, one more pump, one more breath. And I think they're both great depending on the athlete.
I feel like, you've done a good job going one more pump. You are a father to be now, is my understanding.
That is the worst intro to that I have ever. My wife is over here looking at us. She's like, wait a minute, what?
Just one more pump, Christ. Chad. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I hope I have one more left in me. Give me some more whiskey.
So you did mention today on social media, you put up a picture of, I couldn't help myself.
My
You
little
left
alien.
yourself open to that one. You put up a picture of a gorgeous 3D child. I must say, out of all the 3D images I've seen, that's one of the cutest 3D images I've seen, brother. So congrats on that, my
Now
man.
that really is saying something about your character because that looked like an alien coming out of an
Come
alien that was
on.
sitting inside of an alien. So
Well, back when we did the 3D imaging, I mean, it just kind of looked like a pixelated blob. So at least you could tell it's a human
no,
being.
it was definitely an incredible experience today. That was today. We went down and we had our 3D imaging of my wife's stomach, and man, seeing the child moving was unbelievable. And actually, there's a funny joke. This you haven't heard this one yet, so it's not even a joke. I'm pissed. I'm already pissed off at my kid
Oh my
because
God.
she we don't know yet. Is in the belly, and the only reason we don't know is because my sister was there. We're doing a gender reveal later, and we asked not to know today.
I see.
So we're looking at the baby, and this is an amazing moment, and we see our child sucking its thumb, and
Wow.
you see the heartbeat going through the back of the baby,
Wow.
and the baby actually you almost look like the baby realizes what's going on and sticks its foot right into her stomach, boom,
Dang.
and you see this leg pushing on her stomach, and she's like, "That little son of a bitch." Doing like this, and the baby almost was like, "I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
I don't want you guys looking at me." Turned around and gave its back to us.
Dang. Well, maybe, I mean, they can feel them pressing on that part of the stomach. Is that
Maybe
what
I
it is?
don't know. But here's why it pisses me off. No child of mine just gives their back up like that.
Oh my God.
Like already, I just
The real jujitsu man
Jesus.
coming out. Suleiman says, I remember watching a Tito Ortiz interview saying him and Chuck Liddell made $100K apiece and the fight generated over $30 million. I mean, that combined with the 250K that, one of our viewers said that Poirier made to fight Habib in Saudi Arabia is just, or in Abu Dhabi, I think it was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
250K. That's
yep,
nuts.
it's nothing.
Poirier probably made $1 million for that fight in reality. Since
Yeah, I think he did. I think I heard something about that. Yeah.
most fighters make the money on the back end of a pay-per-view. The purses are disclosed are just for tax purposes. Though.
But now with the ESPN Plus, the pay-per-views are changing. The fighters aren't going to be getting the same kinds.
Suleiman says, what do you think about the cheapness of Frank Warren and Bob Arum not doing official press conferences? Well, I mean, if you ask me, Suleiman, I think that's disgusting. I mean, any chance I think you have as a promoter to get the fighters out there, you should absolutely take
For
it
sure.
and run with it.
I agree.
You
I agree. I
with
think
that, Chad?
I think that's a promoter's job. I mean, we deal with this on the low levels, especially where these guys just don't promote. They want the fighters to do everything, and they want to receive all the jewels and the gold at the end of the rainbow, but they don't want to do anything to prep it.
Nice. And we just got $2.79 from our brother, Canadian dollars from our brother.
Why'd
in
you say it like that?
Because it's Jamaican.
You said he's Canadian.
Well, he's living in Canada, but there's a lot of Jamaicans in Canada. He
This
said,
this is the guy on the other end of this thing.
and he,
Jesus.
he said, keep up the good work. Much love to you, Jamaican. Appreciate your generosity, brother. He's him and Emmanuel hooking it up big time. Thank you, guys. Emmanuel said, you're the best, brother. My pleasure. And in response to what you said about your road work and running, he said, excellent. Helps so you don't get gassed out.
Actually, let's talk about the money in business. Like, look at this. I'm just gonna look at it. We're talking about how much money the UFC is making right now, and how little the fighters are getting. Check this. I'm gonna flip script. Watch this. Look at all the money George is getting from you guys, and I'm getting none of it. I'm getting none of it.
Come on, man. Look, guys.
Not only am I getting none of it, I'm feeding him with elite whiskey. Can't even say it. I'm so pissed.
and ass whippings at the gym. I've been pushing Chad to start his own, because I don't know if you guys know this, but Chad is really big on the mental aspect of fighting and motivational speaking. He's got a fantastic podcast, the Savage Hour podcast, with something like over 20,000 downloads. So definitely go check that. Where can they find the Savage Hour?
It's everywhere. You can find our show on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Podbean, YouTube. It's everywhere.
And Chad's been absolutely killing it on there. You know, I told him it's probably a good idea for him to start his own YouTube channel. I've offered to maybe start the channel and do whatever it is that we need to do there. But we'll see if he takes me up on that offer at some point. We are doing Savage Tactics now, where you give us some tips regarding fighting. I think getting some jiu-jitsu tips from you though would be fantastic as well.
Hey, we do it all.
Yeah, brother.
We might even have to do a whiskey night where we lay out all the different whiskeys and we do that live to give people different looks on what types of whiskeys to try and what flavors like, and bringing people that have never had whiskey that think that drinking Jack Daniels is the way to go.
Maybe we get some liquor sponsors in this piece. Ooh. Jamaican says, I think Cowboy's going to win the fight though. I hope so. I have him submitting Conor via arm triangle.
Arm triangle.
Interesting. What do you think about that, Chad?
Well, I mean, I love the arm triangle. It's one of my favorite techniques, so that would be awesome. I'd love it.
Yeah. LOL. So he says, Emmanuel Kant says, tell us his mental game. How do you assess an opponent?
Well, I think we talked about that a little bit already at the beginning of this. If we're talking about Conor and Cowboy, I mean, both of them are literally cowboys. I mean, they want to stand there and they want to trade. There's no fear from either one of those guys, and it's not about doing anything for anybody else other than the fact they both want to put on a show.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of them are going in there with a specific game plan. Well, I take it back. I think Conor actually does have a game plan. I think he's got a very, very high level IQ, and I think his coaching staff are doing the same thing. So, it's going to be very interesting to see if you have two guys that are just going guns blazing, or if one of them just acts like they are and becomes a sharpshooter.
Yeah, I think what Emmanuel's getting at though, he's saying, how do you assess an opponent? So at the beginning, you told me, you like to break it down.
Got you. Okay, well, I'll watch tape, and I also want to watch people's mannerisms, right? How do they react when things are going their way? How do they react when things aren't going their way? And also, you can also see how do they react on their outside life. Because it can really play into a lot of things. If I'm a very cerebral fighter, and if I can get my opponent to act out of their comfort zone, I can start making them not necessarily do what I want them to do, but I can start making them do what they don't want to do. And then we can start working towards that. And I think that's a huge aspect of the game that a lot of people don't understand. Like when I coach, I actually coach my athletes so the other guy can hear me. I will coach the other athlete during the fight without him knowing that I'm coaching him.
You're the loudest person in the history.
Absolutely. I love it. You can hear me in an entire arena because I know what I'm looking for, and I know I can see on reactions, I can see mannerisms, and I start coaching against that. Like, for example, there was a fight recently where one of my athletes was caught in a deep guillotine, dead to rights. And I was telling him, I was like, okay, we're okay. Here's a million times away. His hands are in the wrong place. So when he goes to adjust, it's going to give us our time. So when he adjusts, I said he's going to start inching. When he inches, and the other guy's hearing me, so it starts playing the mind games with him as well, going, well, maybe my hands aren't right. And then when he finally let go of the choke, I was like, oh shit, thank God.
Oh my God, Chad, that's ridiculous, dude.
It's warfare. It's mental warfare.
I love it.
There's only two guys in there, but I have to do my best to be able to be all hands on the way that I can from anywhere that I can.
My favorite is when you're screaming at the fighters rep fights, nothing's free. Nothing's free. What do you mean by nothing's free? I think you've told me before, but
here's what nothing's free means. Nothing's free literally means that you can't hit me without me giving you a response. You can't let me hit you without me giving you another response. You can't miss me without me giving you a response. Nothing's free. I can't let you have anything for free. And actually, here's a funny coaching point. I remember this was last year. This is a jiu-jitsu tournament. One of my guys wasn't listening to me. He just decided I'm not going to listen to coach.
Yeah. Always a bad idea.
It's always a bad idea. So especially when I said, okay, you're not going to listen, I started coaching the other guy on how to beat him.
Oh my God.
I was like, all right, if you're not going to listen, fine. Okay. I knew the other guy. I knew him, right? We're buddies. And he's actually like one of our affiliates. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. You don't want to listen to me? AJ, go for his left leg. Put your hand on the left side. So I coached the other guy to beat him.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to coach somebody to win.
AJ, that's
AJ Bryant.
I know it. I know it. Great fighter.
Yeah, great fighter.
Great fighter, former champ.
Yep.
Ginger Giant says, we got to have Chad George weekly whiskey rant.
See?
Suleiman says, do you think the UFC and Conor are kind of pushing Cerrone into a corner, making him stand and bang? Cerrone basically guaranteed only stand-up. Why limit yourself, Cowboy?
Cause it's what Cowboy does.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pure action fighter.
Yep.
Also, Suleiman says, and Emmanuel said, good strategy by, in response to the way you kind of deal with opponents. Suleiman says, why don't coaches start using more code words during fights? We need a Peyton Manning Omaha level of code words.
Cause I mean, they do. Like even with my guys, we have some codes.
Yeah.
We have code words, but like the idea of it is like, okay, how far is that really going to go? We start studying things.
Right.
Camp study. So unless it's going to be like baseball and we're doing this and we're doing too many different codes and we're going to have guys like in what was that in was that baseball recently where they got caught filming their codes and they were like, so I mean, are we really going to take it? I mean, this is fighting.
What is your favorite code word that you've used?
So we have a couple different things like I tell my guys, okay, all right, it's time for Friday. Like we wrestle on Fridays.
Yeah, I see.
We wrestle on Fridays. There's also a couple different things we do, like L2, R2. What that really means is 2 left hands, 2 right hands, or double up on the left side, double up on the right side. So I mean, you know what I mean? Like depending on where your camp's at, you might have little things that flow with your guys' program.
I also like how you call, you refer to certain, I guess, sequences and series by guys' names. Like you have your Tyson series and you have your Habib.
Well, see, but I use those for drills, right? Like I've got my Tyson drills, I've got my Gotti drills, I've got my the Ali footwork drills. But these are drills based on certain individuals. Like I'm not going to go into a fight and be like, all right, Tyson drill. I might say Tyson movement, but that's no secret. Where I'm just telling you to move left and right.
Yeah. So we've talked about this fight. We've got your view on it. What's coming up for you? Man, any big news coming up besides the baby?
We are. My schedule is slammed already. Slammed. We are. What is today's date? Today's the
5th.
Today's the 5th. So I've got fights almost every single weekend this month, next month, and in March. I'm starting a seminar tour that I think I've got like 12 seminars lined up from now until May. And my baby's going to be coming in May. Wow. I think we're doing like 1 or 2 international trips for seminars. We've got...
Where are you headed?
Well, if everything works out as planned, we've got Spain, Chile, and then potentially at some point Australia.
Nice.
So we've got a lot of awesome things in the works with just teaching, speaking engagements where we're trying to travel a lot and start just motivating other people to find the fighter in themselves and realizing that there's a champion in all of us if you decide it. And you just got to keep pushing forward. And like we talked about with Cowboy, just because you've had some upsets doesn't mean that this next one isn't going to be your time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man. Like these next 12 months are going to be really, really amazing. I think there's some incredible stuff, not only for the sport, but for my personal and professional career is really exciting times.
Who are the great talents coming out of CMMA that we should be watching out for?
We have, we've got some really good pros, some exciting guys that have been in the game, but honestly, this year is going to be the year for my amateurs. I've got some amateurs that I'm just really excited about that are going to go pro. The next time I got a heavyweight, Lou Schwenke.
Big Lou.
And I think he's got the opportunity to be like the next Mark Hunt.
Undefeated
Camel
State heavyweight champion. Best
Samoan
heavyweight
kid.
Yeah.
Amazingly talented. I mean, I've got this roster of kids that are 18 and 19 years old right now that are putting a beating on me and these other, like I got heel hooked by an 18-year-old a couple nights ago. Like my kid just turned 18 years old and he's already beating me on the ground, and I wasn't even upset about it.
Yeah, you can't be. You're teaching them everything they know.
Oh, privately I was upset about it.
So we got Big Lou. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm excited about all the kids on the Fighters Rep card. I think this upcoming Fighters Rep card is just stacked. I've got 3 pro fights made now.
Cool.
Really happy about that. Including it looks like we might get Terrion Ware fighting on the card against Quinton Macatro, who's out of the movement.
Wait, hold on. Terrion's fighting Quinton?
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, assuming they both agree to it. So,
at what weight?
I asked for I'm seeing if they could do it 155.
You know, Terrion's a 35er.
Well, they told me 47, 42, 47. I said, would you 47? I think
And
they
Quentin's a
told me.
55er.
Yeah. Well, no, he's actually heavier.
I train both.
But yeah, 55. Yeah, I know you've.
Well, Quentin's been through my gym. Terrion's actually a very good friend of mine, and he's been training with
Listen,
me.
I can't do anything without you having dirtied it up or touched one of the fighters. but you know, I'm also very excited, obviously, about Shane Collins. He's a young kid that's training.
He's one of my youngsters. Like I'm very excited about.
Only 19.
That's what I'm telling you. I've got Cody Davis. I've got Jonathan Powell, Shane Collins.
Eric Valencia is going to be fighting on the card.
Eric
as
Valencia is
well.
making his debut.
MMA.
Yep. And then I've got some other kids like little Sammy. Sammy's phenomenal. He's another 19-year-old.
Wow.
I've got the 19-year-old that's actually a buddy of his that just started training with us. And has got a lot of amazing talent. So my junior team is really what's more exciting for me this year. I mean, my pros, don't get me wrong, we've got a lot of great things, but my junior squad, man, this is gonna be their year.
Suleiman is saying, did you see the UFC yearly wrap-up video? UFC seemed to forget to include Stipe, just the greatest heavyweight ever.
But he stays under the radar.
Yeah. Suleiman's also asking, what's Chad's podcast called?
The Savage Hour Podcast. It's everywhere. Just pop it up on iTunes, Spotify, all that kind of good stuff. The Savage Hour Podcast.
And Ginger Giant says, there's a new generation of monsters out there. Boxing prospects out there like Dubois, scary as Fook. And Ginger Giant, definitely, I can attest to what Chad's talking about here. Some of these youngsters coming out of CMMA are pretty terrifying.
It terrifies me, and this is why, like, for me, I'm 37 years old. I'll be 38 in April. Yeah. And, you know, I've been fighting for a long time, and I look at these kids that are in my gym, and I'm so thankful that like, I'm not fighting them. You know, these kids have no fear. They pick everything up so fast, and they are so hungry just to follow in the footsteps of the path that's been laid for them.
And some great gyms, man. Some great gyms. I mean, yours, obviously, and some other great gyms competing. You know, Crew Rod's gym, Team Victory, is going to be on the card with a couple of pro fighters even.
Very cool.
Looks like Nico Ruiz is going to be fighting, as well as John Garcia. He's going to be fighting as well. A lot of great teams, Champions, BJJ, and Fitness. They've got a pretty tough team. They got some good kids on the card too. So very excited. Chad, believe it or not, we've been going for about an hour now, and I really appreciate your time. Is there anything? And Suleiman says we'll make sure to follow the podcast. Say thank you, Suleiman. Much love, brother. Is there anything you want to say before I let you go? And oh man, we're getting a slew of comments now. But is there,
now it's coming in.
Is there anything you want to say before we cut this off?
Kentucky bourbon is the way to go.
I like it.
That's all I got.
I like it. Emmanuel Kahn saying, you talked about money. The best savings is gold and silver. Take a third of your money and buy it. It's going to go up always. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Emmanuel. Ginger Giant saying it's hard for people to praise Conor, but he genuinely has opened MMA up to a wider public, so the standard's going to get stupid good. I agree with that. And Suleiman says, Tony versus Habib, quick take. Let's end this on a Chad George, Tony versus Habib, quick take. Break it down for me.
Tony, third round submission.
Wow. And there you go. And why do you think that happened?
I just think stylistically, it's the way it's a kryptonite for Khabib. I think Khabib is very good. He's one of the best that's ever done it. I've even done posts like, is he the GOAT? You know, he hasn't done enough to be there, but I like seeing that feedback. And I think just stylistically that you know where Khabib's going to put the fight. He's going to try to get on the ground. And I think what Ferguson brings to the table is the fact that he never stops moving, his flexibility, and this unorthodox way he attacks is just going to be a really bad matchup for Khabib. Yeah. You've seen Khabib almost get finished with the Darce by Poirier. He's almost been finished with guillotine. And I know I'm fixating on the word almost, but I also think that Ferguson is a different caliber grappler. And me being a grappler, and I would like to think that my mentality and my ability to understand grappling is be like that of Ferguson. I think that the guys that have almost caught him are not even near the level of aptitude that Ferguson has.
I feel like you know something the rest of us don't. Being a black belt in jiu-jitsu and the first ever combat jiu-jitsu world champion. Suleiman says, I like it, with a fire emoji. Great stream. Thank you. Great stream. Thank you both. Thank you guys. Ginger Giant says, cheers, bro. Hope to see you on here again. And Emmanuel Kant saying, one bourbon, one scotch, one beer. Excellent interview. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I do want to say, be sure to join us tomorrow again at 7 p.m. Pacific, like we always do. I'm going to have Amir Abdullah, former kickboxing world champion, currently manager of Badu Jack. He's going to talk to us about that bullshit Badu Jack versus Jean Pascal decision that we had in boxing, where Jean Pascal somehow retained his light heavyweight title last weekend. Just an absolute embarrassment of a boxing decision. Another decision that went crazy, Chad. Just very unfortunate. It keeps happening. I tell people, you want judging to change, sign up and be a part of the commission. You know what I mean? But thank you so much, Knuckleheads. You all have a great night, and we appreciate you guys joining us. Chad, you the man, brother.
Cheers.